And we're going to end this lesson with some inequalities, which will be a reoccurring theme as we continue on with this course. Example A says on part A and B, use the figures below. So part A wants us to solve the equation and part B wants us to solve the inequality. So before we solve the equation and the inequality, let's just kind of talk about this graph really quickly. We have a system of equations here, right? We have our two lines that intersect. And so that intersection or that one solution on this one would be -4, 6. So you can see you have your f of x function, which is right here with this negative slope. And then we have our g of x function right here with our positive slope. So the first thing it wants us to do is solve the equation when f of x equals g of x. And it has to do with this intersection point. When we talk about solving the equation, it is just the x value here. So we have x equals -4. Okay, we only use this x value because when we plug in -4 into our f of x function, whatever that function may be, I'm going to get that 6. When I substitute -4 in to my g of x function, I'm also going to get 6. So this is where they are equal. When my x equals -4, they both equal 6. Now solving the inequality, when f of x is greater than, which is what the symbol right here means, when f of x is greater than g of x. Okay, and when I'm looking at that, I'm wanting to see where is my f of x function essentially on top of my g of x? Where does it have higher y values? And so that's going to be everything here to the left side. Here, my f of x is greater than all of these g of x values when you're looking at those y's, right? Here it has higher y values than down here where g of x has lower y values. I don't love these questions because we haven't really gone over interval notation yet. We will go over that in a couple sections from now. But if I'm talking about everything here, and it's not just everything in this little bubble, right? Because these lines are going to keep going infinitely towards negative infinity. So this is every value from negative infinity all the way up into this -4. Because once we pass -4, now my g of x line is on top of my f of x line. And because this is greater than and not greater than or equal to, this will have a parenthesis. Infinities always have a parenthesis, whether it's negative or positive infinity. And this one will have a parenthesis as well because it's greater than and not greater than or equal to, meaning that -4 is not included. Okay, so let's try this one again. Exact same instructions. And parts A and B, use the figure below to solve the equation and solve the inequality. So let's again talk about it. We have our f of x function here now has a positive slope. Our g of x function right here has a negative slope. And this is a system of equations because they intersect right here at the point 2, 5. So for part A, solve the equation. When does f of x equal g of x? That should be x equals 2. We're talking about just the x coordinate. When you substitute in 2 to both g of x and f of x, you get the y value of 5. Solve the inequality. This time we want to know when is f of x greater than or equal to g of x? So this symbol here means greater than or equal to because of that line underneath. Okay. So when is my f of x on top of, again, my g of x function? So is it to the left of our intersection or to the right of our intersection? And this time we're over here to the right. Here, this is when my f of x is greater than my g of x. Once you go to the left side of that intersection, here my g of x is greater than f of x. So in interval notation, it's going to start here at that 2. And because this is or equals 2, that means it includes this 2 right here. And so this one's going to get a bracket instead of a parenthesis. And then these lines are going to keep going forever towards this time, infinity. And infinities always get a parenthesis. And you'll see when you type this into my math lab that your bracket and your parenthesis will be in red, like it doesn't like it, but sometimes these aren't going to match, and that's okay. I was about to stop the recording, but before I do, I just want to note again, I don't like these inequality questions because we haven't really gone over inequalities yet. So I'm just going to say, do your best. If you have any questions on them, please don't hesitate to email me or use the Ask My Instructor button in my math lab for help.